that. I don't have shows at 2:56 a.m.
Last time
They start at 5:30.
We got Gil T on the stand. So now
Gilligan teach Lego I've been practicing.
We're going to try to nail this guy. Don't think about that one too hard.
I'm thinking about it now.
Oh, I forgot to unmute it. Okay.
I'm thinking about it now.
Try to prove that I'm the murderer, Mr. Justice.
Hold on. I'm thinking about it now.
And I'll show you just how ludicrous your accusation truly is.
Gotta be. Ew.
This is my chance to use all the evidence we've got.
Everything.
Yo!
Adjusting my bear pillow. Okay? Be careful though, Polly. He wouldn't be willing to do this if he thought you could really prove he's the culprit. Stupid pillow!
He's probably got some trick up his sleeve. But then again, we've got a few up ours. So, Mr. Justice,
he has longer sleeves.
Would you like to begin?
He has longer sleeves than me.
Ready when you are, Gilligan. Alright then. There is something I've been wondering about your version of events, Mr. Justice. You believe Miss Toppling was framed, yet she fired that gun last night. Exactly, that's how they made her look like the murderer. Yes, it seems that she was the murderer because she fired the gun. But why did she fire it? You said
because she was startled.
You said the murderer planted the gun in Miss Toppling to find, but that didn't force her to fire it. That's a good point. She most likely fired the gun to create the illusion of being framed, as I previously explained. You forced her to shoot that gun. Oh dang, we're getting all up in his face. Don't think about that one too hard. If you're so adamant about this, Mr. Justice, why don't you explain how I could have done that? What could I have possibly done to get Miss Toppling to shoot the victim's corpse? Well, she said she heard something like Brushel stepping on a twig, which startled her. Let's present the twig! This is a twig. And just how do I force someone to shoot a gun with a twig?
It's not the twig itself. It's the one who's wielding it. Oh.
It's simple. Last night, Sue told me what happened when she went to the crime scene. Yeah? Yo.
I heard a snap behind me. I think it was Brushel stepping on a twig.
I see. Then what happened?
I saw a tall, dark figure a few feet away. Without thinking, I pulled the trigger.
We thought Brushel had stepped on a twig, which was what made that noise. But when we went to the crime scene, there was no twig where Brushel had been standing, and there is no image. So you see, Gilligan, you were at the crime scene. When you saw that Sue had picked up the gun and Kitsune was in the area, you snapped the twig in order to startle Sue and get her to shoot. Sorry, Head Forehead, but that doesn't quite fit. I believe you're the one who first brought up this piece of testimony. Was there anyone else on the lakeshore at the time? Nope, as far as I can remember, it was just the three of us. Which means this theory about Herr Tischlegel-Steinhausen-Berdorf is at the crime scene at 9 o'clock. It contradicts Herr Fuchs' testimony, yeah? There's an easy way around that, Mr. Gavin. Oh, really? Then let's see what evidence you have. How could Herr Fuchs not see Herr Tischlegel-Steinhausen-Berdorf at the crime scene? Well, we know, if you remember.
Camouflage. He's a ninja.
There was
obviously.
This was the only broken twig in the area, and you couldn't see it from where Trucy was standing. Present the twig again. That twig again? That's right. I told you that there was no twig where Brushel was standing. But I didn't tell you where this twig was found. I checked out this area via... Image, what you doing?
I checked out this area, and this was the only broken twig I could find. It was all the way over there, in the void. You can't even see it. You can't even see the spot from here.
And all the...
Because it's off camera.
From all the blackness.
Because it's off camera.
So, Gilligan was hiding out in the area where we found this broken twig. He wouldn't have been visible to Kitsune while he walked by. I suppose there is a certain tenuous thread of logic to your arguments, Mr. Justice. But there's still a problem. You say I got Miss Toppling to shoot the gun by startling her with a snap from this twig. But people don't usually go firing guns whenever they hear a sharp noise. Yeah, firing the gun just because she heard the noise is a bit hard to believe. I'm losing my German accent. Yes, normally that would be a strange reaction. But last night there were certain circumstances that caused the defendant to react this way. Well, I'm sure you know what I'm going to ask next. Just what were these circumstances that can explain Miss Toppling's behavior? The threatening letter. On the night of the murder, Sue was drawn to the crime scene by this threatening note. To meet with Schmitsune, a feared and notorious gangster. She had been threatened. It was dark. She was in an empty, isolated airspace away from town. On top of this, she happened to stumble upon a gun. I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to say Sue was in an extremely anxious and panicked state of mind. By completing the delivery of the threatening note Kitsune wrote, Gilligan knew Sue would be nervous enough to shoot the gun from the snap of the twig. That's understandable, I suppose. I guess that's one possible explanation for how Miss Toppling could have been framed. Although, in my opinion, it's still a bit of a stretch. Anyway, there was something I noticed about the argument you just presented. There is nothing to suggest that I was the one who snapped the twig. Well, technically that's true. But Kitsune gave you this note. You knew Sue and Kitsune were going to be at your lake. So if someone snapped this twig to startle Sue, it had to be you. Congratulations. I suppose you proved it was possible that I'm the murderer. But do you have any evidence that I actually did it?
Guilty.
Run out of steam already.
You can't let Gilligan push you around like this. Why don't we try picking the battlefield now?
Ah, that's a good idea. Let's try going back to the basics. Oh.
Motive, opportunity, and decisive evidence. Those are the three things required for a guilty verdict. And the jury.
Yo.
Do I even need to read that?
Which one do you think we should bring up? Well, decisive evidence, we don't really have that.
That text should be green, right?
Yeah, probably.
It should be green.
Opportunity? That's feasible. However, I think we have a solid motive. Let's go down motive. How about a motive? I don't think that's been brought up yet.
Yeah, I think that would work. Clavier hasn't given a motive for sure to kill Mr. Brushel. It's hard to read from here. So if we can show Gilligan has a motive while Sue doesn't, it'll be pretty good for our case.
Your Honor, I would like to discuss another aspect of the crime. Motive. Ah, I had almost forgotten about that.
Our synchronized clapping.
As far as I'm aware, there was no motive for my client to kill Mr. Brushel. Isn't that right, Mr. Gavin? At this moment, I am not fully sure of why the defendant committed the crime. But with the evidence and decisive testimony, that doesn't really matter, yeah? Are you saying there was a reason I wanted Mr. Brushel dead, Mr. Justice? Yes, I am. I hope you're aware of what will happen when you fail to deliver. So why exactly would I kill the victim? Well, he kind of wrote this huge file about you, and it doesn't really say good things. What is this? A file? Ah, so you're the one who has this. Yes, Your Honor. This is a file. Yes, Your Honor. This is a file. It is about Gilligan, and it was the victims. It details Gilligan's connections to a corrupt organization and how he's purposely been throwing cases. An interesting read. But I fail to see how a little file could result in such a big crime. I didn't care or even know about the existence of this document. Bull crap! I think you cared very much about this file. Oh, jeez, what was that? It was the door to room 1215, because he broke in.
Oh, yeah.
Last night, the victim was actually staying in a hotel in the city instead of his apartment. When I visited it last night, I found two very interesting things. First, there wasn't anything in it, and second, the lock on the door was broken. I think the conclusion from this was obvious. The room was broken into. Moreover, the victim's file, it was found in Gilligan's office. So the victim's room was broken into, and the victim's file was found in Gilligan's possession. The conclusion to be drawn is obvious. So tell me, Gilligan, why would you steal a file you said you didn't care about? Damage pose. Do you have any proof that Herr Schlegelstein-Hausenberdorf is actually this thief? Well, no direct evidence, but the victim's file appearing in his office speaks for itself. Besides, do you have any alternate theories as to the identity of the thief, Mr. Gavin? Ach, 9. That's it. Enough of this game. Let us end this once and for all, shall we? Ah, Gilligan, you want... Yes, Your Honor. Another testimony. Very well. I hope you haven't run out of tricks yet, Mr. Justice, because you'll be cross-examining me next time. Fourth wall, smorth wall. It doesn't exist in these games. Pretty much. Anyways, next time we will be cross-examining Mr. Gilligan again.
I suppose I'm just going to have another soda later today so I don't fall asleep.
Solid.
Yep.
Until then, I am the Ash Raichu.
And I'm his sister.
Goodbye.